Hey, welcome to Taylor's trick-taking table. I'm taking a moment of silence because I am moving. I am leaving this set, this wonderful, wonderful set. I'm moving to New York. Definitely one of the top 5 Yorks. We were thinking of moving to Old New York, but we're gonna go to New York. So I just want to say a moment of silence to the set. I will remember you. Oh. Sad to see it go. I'll still bring Claude at the new set, at the new place, the new pad, because, you know, you gotta love Claude. So it won't really be out of the set if I'm with Claude, you know? People always say, home is where the heart is. Well, the set is where Claude is. But yes, I will be leaving whatever this is behind, all these crazy, wacky trinkets, because I am moving. But out with that news, in with the crazy news. We will be continuing on with Agoises. That is, I think, what we've decided on. Because 2 more weeks left in August, and I will keep the promise of covering games where you make choices at the start, kind of deal with the ramifications later. In fact, we'll be covering Baronda by Toshiki Areo and falscher Faehrte, I think that's how it's pronounced, by Jürgen Krau. We'll cover those. But first, the good news is we're getting very close to a Kickstarter for Zoo and More. A little bit of a soft launch here. Yeah, we're doing a Kickstarter in a little bit that's going to have a ton of standard deck games in one big kind of Mew and More package. If you go to BGG, there's a lot of the games listed there. We're going to have Hodgepodge Dodgeball, Short Suit, Bug House Millionaire, and Chai Tea Jazz, and all coming together in Zoo and More with a meta game called Through the Zoo. Wild stuff. I'm working with a lot of amazing designers, a lot of amazing artists. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wacky and wild. More news coming up. So, yeah, some wild news. It's all going to be so exciting. Can't wait to finish out the year. There's a lot of other wacky, wild stuff that's happening. Maybe secret things behind me in the set that are tipping off that can be announced soon. Nothing more to say besides that. So let's continue on with Agoises. Again, we must make this month work. If you saw the last video, it has been a challenge to get this month. So we are going to fulfill this promise, almost a year in the making, by covering more Agoises. Let's start off with Baronda, where the hook is players are going to be betting on how many tricks they think they're going to win. And if players collectively bet pretty high, then it's going to be an avoidance game. And if they bet collectively low, it's going to be a trick-taking game. Wild stuff. But the choices on that kind of bid or bet or whatever at the start have ramifications in the trick-taking. Absolutely wild stuff. Then we have falscher Faehrte, which I could never pronounce correctly, with the new art. It is gorgeous. This is where players will secretly decide what they want the game to kind of be. So if they put higher cards, they want it to be an avoidance game, and if they put lower cards, they want it to be a trick-taking game. But you don't know what that is until about 3 or 4 tricks into the hand. So a little bit of play there. There's some cool trump manipulation stuff too, some interesting tactics, and some interesting mechanisms in this one. So let's go to the table and let's continue on with Agoises. See you there. The deck in Baronda is 4 suits numbered 0 all the way to 13. The red suit is trump. Also, the zeros are special Baronda cards. There's also 3 pass cards and 3 naga cards. At 5 players, you're going to use all the cards. At 4 players, you're going to take out the 11 through 13. At 3 players, you're going to take out the 8 through 13. And at 2 players, you're going to take out the 6 through 13. Here we have a game of Baronda set up for 3 players. So no matter the player count, you're going to shuffle and deal 12 cards to each player, with any extra cut out for that round. Then each player is going to get a fruit kind of stand that is double-sided. It has 13 through 7 on one side, and then 6 through 0 on the other. And then this person here, which is going to hold their fruit, which is essentially their bid. Everyone's going to get those 2 cards. And then someone's going to be the leader for the round. That's just going to go around clockwise for every round. And in addition to the leader card, they're going to get this up 13 or down 12 card, which is going to dictate what type of game players are playing, but that's after the bid. So now players are going to look at their hands and simultaneously bid on how many tricks they think they're going to win. So let's say looking at the leader hand here, they have a Naga card, which is pretty strong usually. They have these zeros, which are somewhat strong, but they don't have that many good cards. In fact, they have kind of low cards. So maybe they only think they're going to take 2 tricks. They're going to move their person up to the 2 line here. This is all hidden, and then everyone's going to simultaneously reveal. So let's say players did that. So then they reveal, and you're going to go around the table and see how many tricks players think they're going to win. So 2 plus 4 plus 3, that is 9. So since it was 9, the leader is going to flip over this because it was 11 and down. So in this situation, players are playing the Baronda, and that means it's going to be an avoidance game. So players now need to take as few tricks as possible because collectively everyone thought they all had pretty bad hands. If it had gone the other way, so let's say someone bid like 6, so that was 10, 13, so it would be now a barong, 13 or up hand, and now everyone needs to take as many tricks as possible. In the last scenario, if it was equal, so say this player bid 5, so 5 plus 4 plus 3 is 12 exactly. The leader, since it's, in between 11 down and 13 up, is going to choose whether they want to lower their bid to 4 and make it a down round, or raise their bid by 1. So if they were at 5, they could raise it to 6 and make it a barong round, 13 or up. They have the choice. But going back to that first example where it was 2 and then 4 and 3, and it was a down Baronda hand, players are playing an avoidance round. So like I said, this is an avoidance, and how scoring is going to work is players are going to look at the number on their bid, see how many tricks they take, and then they're going to get more points for as few as possible. So in this case, this player over here, the leader, bid 2. If they took 0 tricks, they're going to get 2 points for hitting their bid of 2 or fewer, and then they're going to get additional points, that many off of their bid. So for example, if they took 0 tricks, they're going to get 2 points, again, for being under their bid, but then also they're going to get the number of tricks under their bid as points. So that'd be 2 plus 2, so 4 points if they took 0. If they took 1 trick, it would be 3 points because it was 2 for hitting their bid and then 1 more for being 1 under. If they hit their bid exactly, like they took 2 tricks, then it's 2 points. And then if they're off, like they took 3 tricks, they don't get any points for hitting their bid, and they actually lose a point per trick they're off. So they would get -1 if they took 3 tricks. And this would just get worse if they got more and more tricks. So say they took 5 and they bid 2 and it's an avoidance, they would get -3 points. But with the scoring explained and the bidding out of the way, we will just start to the first trick. So the leader is going to start, and they can play whatever card they want. Maybe they play this 1 in blue. So Baronda is a must-follow game. So maybe the 64 player plays that, and then coming over, the peacock could play the 4. You can play passes and Naga cards whenever you want, but other than that, it is a must-follow. So highest of the lead suit is going to win. So 64 is going to win this trick. They're going to collect the trick and then lead to the next trick. If there is, so in this example here, a Baronda card in the trick, it will usually lose unless everyone played on suit, then it will actually win. So in this case, this thumbs up player will win the trick because everyone was on suit. So they'll collect the trick and then they'll lead to the next trick. Jumping ahead to the next trick, if someone was off suit, then the Baronda is just the lowest. So in this case, the 64 player would win because they had the highest of the lead suit. Also, I should say red is trump. So if it actually looked like this, then this player would win because it's highest of the trump suit if there is one played. One of the special cards to talk about is the Naga card. So you can play it whenever you want. So you can break the must follow rules with it, and it wins unless there is a Baronda card. In that case, the Baronda would beat it and win the trick. The other card that can break the must follow with the Naga card is the pass card, and that just loses no matter what. And that's the trick taking for the most part. Last thing to explain is if someone leads a pass card or a Naga card, then it's the first non-Naga or pass card that's played that will set the lead suit. So in this case, if 64 played a Naga and the Peacock down here led the red suit, then it must follow on the red suit. So then you would play all the 12 tricks. At the end of the hand, you would score. So again, in this case scenario, in an avoidance hand, 64 would get 2 points because they were at or under their bid. And then since they were in fact one trick under, they would get 3 total points. Over here, this player, the Peacock, bid 3 and got 3, so they'll get 2 points for hitting their bid. Over here, this player went over their bid, so they're going to get minus points for the difference. So they bid 2, but they took 2, 4, 6, 7, so they're minus 5 points. If it was flipped, so maybe it was this right here, this player bid 2 but took a bajillion, they would get 7 points, 2 for hitting the bid, and then 5 for going over. This player over here would lose 1 point, and this player over here would get 2 points for hitting their bid. Then you'd gather up all the cards, including the ones that were cut. You'd shuffle and redeal. You would move the leader. And you're just going to play rounds equal to the number of players. So everyone's going to be the leader once. And whoever has the most points at the end wins. There's separate rules for 2-player, but I'll let you discover that on your own. And that's how to play Baronda. The deck in falscher of Faehrte is made up of 4 suits numbered 0 through 12. At 3 players, you take out the 10, 11, and 12. And what is really nice is it has the most subtle card back I've ever seen. As you can see, the little footprints there in the dark. Here we have the game set up for 4 players, so no matter the player count, you're going to deal 13 cards each. At 3 players, there's going to be an extra card that you actually show everyone to the table before you put it out for the round. Then you're going to take the 4 cards that dictate what trump is for the round. You're going to shuffle them, reveal one of them, and that is going to be trump initially for the hand, so purple in this case. And then you're going to have this kind of track of sorts that keeps track of the 12 tricks in the game. The order matters, and it's different by the player count, but essentially it's going to be white is just normal tricks, blue are a little bit special, which I'll explain, and red is super special, which I'll explain. And the tracks are mostly similar, it's just at 3 players you have 1 fewer blue because you have 1 less player. So everyone got dealt 13 cards, but there's 12 tricks. So what does that extra card do? So in this game, players are going to kind of determine in a group community way whether this is an avoidance game or a take tricks game. So players are going to look at their hands and they are going to choose one of the cards to go into the center pot, for example. So looking at this hand, this player has a ton of purple, so they think they're going to win a bunch of tricks. So they want this to be a hand where you win a lot of tricks. So if you want this to not be an avoidance, but to be a taking tricks game, you want to put a high rank card into the center. So everyone does that simultaneously. It's all face down. We'll do this and not reveal what they did, so it's a little bit of a surprise. Then you're going to shuffle this, and then this is going to be set aside. So players don't know if they're playing a take tricks or avoid tricks type of game. And then a player's going to lead to the first trick. You're just going to play trick taking. So maybe this player, plays a 5. It is must follow. So if this was played like that, the highest of the lead suit would win. So in this case, it was the RV bus up there. They'll take the trick. And what they're going to do is, you're going to have to take the trick, or what we just do is move it to the side. Because in this game, you can keep track of how many tricks you take by taking a little bus ticket, which is cute. So then they're going to lead to the next trick. So it is highest of the lead suit. But if no one has the lead suit, like in this case, if they wanted to, they could play a purple, and then its highest of the trump would win. So then the side duck here would take the trick. After a blue ticket is taken, you're going to come over to that deck that everyone created at the start, reveal the first card. A 1. So again, if you put a low number in, you want it to be an avoidance game. If you put a high number in, you want it to be a take tricks game. So how this works is, you are, let's just say, the next trick happens, side duck 1 again, or, the Y question win 1, doesn't matter who wins. You're going to flip another one. So for these 4 tricks, you're going to be revealing this deck slowly. And if it hits a certain number, so, after the next trick, maybe side duck 1 again, or Y1 again, if it hits a certain number, then it's a take tricks game. But if it never does, then it's an avoidance game. That number in 4 players is 24 or higher. So as you can see here, this could be an avoidance game if a player played a 0, because we're at 21, a 0, a 1, or a 2. But if it's 3 or higher, it's a take tricks game. So players are now thinking, it's probably a take tricks game. So what's interesting is at the very start, when you don't know what's going to happen, it's a little you're unsure if you want tricks or not, but now that it's leaning towards you do want tricks, players are a little bit nervous. And as you can tell, because one person knows exactly what it is, because one person put this in, that was this player. They know 100% what it is. They're going to lead a high trump because they know it is a take tricks game, and they know it's time to start taking tricks. So players might know that just from that play. But so essentially, again, it's still must follow, highs to the lead suit, or, you know, in this case where everything's trump, highs to the trump wins. So the white player is going to take, you know, that trick, take the last thing. This is going to get revealed. Bum, bum, bum. Turns out we are playing a take tricks game. Now, as you can see, the next tricks are white. It's all normal. You're going to play 2 more tricks like this. So maybe it goes here, maybe it goes here, whatever. Once it hits this red trick, once someone takes this red trick, the player who's losing, and whether that means in an avoidance game you took the most, or in this case you took the fewest, like in this situation, this Railroad Ink player hasn't taken one yet. And all you do once it's this type of game is where you want to win tricks, you just want to win tricks. There's no subtlety to it. So this player is just losing. So once this is taken, they can look at their hand and choose whatever they want to be trump. So maybe they're looking at, oh, I have a ton of this green circle. You know what? I'm going to change trump to green. Is that right? Green circle. Yeah, green circle. So now, for the last 4 tricks, the trump is different. So hopefully this helps this player win more tricks. If there was a tie, like say for example, they did win one of the tricks, and so a tie 1-1 between those 2 players, that opportunity is just lost. Whoever wins this just wins it, and you keep going, and it remains the original trump. So there's a little bit of schadenfreude where if 2 people have the same, they actually kind of mess each other over. If this was an avoidance game, same thing. So if this was an avoidance game and this was the current score, it'd actually be this player who, after the red thing was taken, they'd come over here and be like, what do I don't want trump to be? You know, like if they have a bunch of purple still, they're like, okay, I want it to be anything but purple because I'm trying to lose tricks. So then you play out the rest of the tricks, boop, 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 and then you would score. How the scoring works is you see how well someone did in the round, and then they get points depending on how well they did. So first place would get 4 points, then 3 points, then 2 points, and then last place gets 0. So maybe if this was how it looked, and it was a game where you want points, the white player got 5, and so they got the most, so that's 4 points. And then over here, it's 3 and 3. Let's just do this for example. So 4, 2, 1, they would get 3, they would get 2, they would get 0. If there's a tie, you share the tie, and then it just bumps the next person down. So this would be 4 points, they shared, so they would get 3 and 3, and then that person gets 0 because they just got bumped down. If it was avoidance and the other way around, it just flips. So, for example, if this was an avoidance round, the bus would get 4 points, and then they would tie at 3 points each because they had 3 things, and they got second place. And then this person who got last place because they took too many tricks would get 0 points. So then start player just moves, and then you play rounds equal to twice the number of players, so 8 at 4, 6 at 3, and then whoever has the most points at the end wins. So that is Baronda and Arfen. Let's do this one first. I think there's a couple really cool things here. The fact that players are seeding the deck a little bit, a la Food Chain Magnate. I sometimes, maybe incorrectly, will pitch this as a little bit of Food Chain Magnate in trick taking because, you know, you seed what you want to do, and then it kind of gets revealed mid-game. I think it's a little bit of a mischaracterization because Food Chain is a long game with a lot of long-term strategy and deep decisions, and this is just a goof 'em up trick-taking game, so I probably should stop saying that, but it does give that fun kind of mechanism where players are seeding the deck a little bit, they put a little bit of say into it, but it's really everyone's kind of say of what really happens. Really cool stuff. I always like it. It's just a smooth trick-taking game that just works really well. I also love that idea of maybe players kind of bluff a little bit at the start. They take a trick or two pretty convincingly, and maybe they put a 0 in or whatever I'm trying to say, whatever the number is, where they really want it to be an avoidance game. And so they kind of trick people into thinking maybe they'll, you know, take some tricks. And it's also really fun to where your card matters and it's the last one revealed. And so you feel like you know everything just a little bit earlier, because you do. You know everything like a trick earlier. That's really fun in the game. I think also that catch-up mechanism of letting the person who's losing chains trump, kind of like, I think like 2/3 through, or like 60% through or so of the tricks is really, really fun, especially if players are tied. There's a really cool thing where if you are not going to get that ability because you're kind of doing well, you're going to try to make people kind of balance so that no one can do it because they're tied. Super, super fun stuff. It's just the game is clean. It is short in a good way. Like, I mean, the hand arc is really good. Like, at the start you don't really know much, and then about 1/3 through the hand you kind of know what's going on. Maybe 1/4 through the hand you get to that point where you get what's going on, and then by the time things are a little bit set, you get that trump change possibility, and then you kind of finish it out with a kind of a cavalcade of what's going to happen. So every hand feels dynamic and fun, and I think it's just great. It's a good time. I think the only cons are like sometimes you put a really low number or a high number in there, and players, you know, they don't really do what you want to do, so you feel like, even though I tried really hard, I didn't really have a say, and I, you know, maybe took too many tricks or couldn't get any tricks. But I think overall, you do feel like you have a say on most hands, and it feels, you know, dynamic, and feels like you're a part of it. I might like this a little bit more at 3 because you just have one less player to throw noise in. You feel like you're, you know, are 1/3 of that committee of sorts that you want to have a say in whether it's avoidance or trick taking. And yeah, I think the production is great. Suits are wild and wacky. I think the art's interesting. I haven't really played the variant that much, the one with the Jokers or something. Maybe once a long time ago, but it did not stick out. I think the base game is a great time, and the production in this new version is great. The bus tickets look great. I think the graphic design's fun. Yeah, just overall, what a great game. A bit simple. There's not like too many mind-blowing things that you'll leave it being like, this is a good time. Like, it's just a super solid game. It's close to getting seal. It's not like, I think nowadays the seal is almost reserved for very standout, very like amazing games that I think about often and I want to really come back to, just because I play so many trick-taking games. So I think if this was one of the first ones I played, it is just so smooth and fun that it would get the seal, but I think it's lacking a little bit of that bite. Like, it's like a really good mac and cheese where you're like, yeah, that's good, but it's nothing stands out. Like, it's like, you did this really well. It's good pizza. It's good. Why am I using food so much as an analogy? It's like something that is tried and true and good and well done, but maybe it just doesn't stand out. I'm always going to play this, but sometimes I forget about it. So maybe that's why it slightly misses out on the seal, but it's just solid, just super solid stuff. I always have a good time playing it. Always lands really well. But I think when I'm done with it, I'm like, cool. Yeah, that was great. So that is Faehrte. Great times. It's great stuff. Baronda. Baronda is interesting. Baronda is like if you took Faehrte and you went a little wackier in the cards. So you have the pass cards. You have is it called Naga? I forget. You have the cards that are, or Garunda. You have the cards that are zeros that lose unless everyone's on suit, or unless a Naga is played, and the Naga that are really strong unless the Garunda is played. So there's a lot of like if this and that, kind of skulking-ish, kind of like a hierarchy in skulking, which is fun because it allows players the flexibility of if they bid high and everyone bid high and it now is now an avoidance game, to use those like Naga cards on certain times to lose with them, right? Or vice versa, where if you thought it was an avoidance thing and you have like the zeros, you now want to play them when everyone's on suit, so then you win tricks. Super clean system, super fun. I think, and maybe I just played it at really high player counts because this does go to 5, I believe. Yeah, it goes to 5. And I've played it at 5, maybe more times than I have at like 3 or 4. So yeah, take this with a little bit of grain of salt because maybe I didn't play with the ideal player counts. But there's just a lot that can happen. in a trick. And it feels borderline wacky sometimes, not too wacky. I mean, as much as like Skull King can feel wacky. But it's especially when compared to like a falscher Faehrte, where there's just like really trump. And that is really the only outstanding stuff after the must follow. Whereas this one has, a few different special types of cards, and some if this then that, and some cards that were like, oh, they could have won in a certain situation, but someone played offsuit once, and then everything is different, right? You are just sometimes a little bit at the whims of what other people play a little randomly. Sometimes there's just some less predictable stuff, so it's a little bit crazier. So I think that's the only knock I have it personally. I love the system of the bidding. It's so simple, so fluid. I love that when there's a tie, the leader chooses up or down. That's so cool. It's also fun to kind of have a game where you bid, you see what happens, whether it's avoidance or trick taking, full trick taking, and then that's just like your MO. Like, if we're taking tricks, you want as many tricks as you want, or as you can get, and if we're avoiding, you want to avoid all of them. And it's cool to have like, same with falscher Faehrte, is like once you kind of know what's going on, just to go that way is nice. It's very classic trick taking feel. I think what's tough is this has that, like I'm saying, like classic trick taking feel, but the card play is a little bit wacky, if that makes sense. Still really fun. I still have a good time with it. I think when I played this a lot was at T9, the trick taking convention, and this was probably one of the more played games there because it was just landing with everyone. I think it has that sweet spot of like little wacky, kind of more out there Japanese design where the cards do a little bit more and, there's some stuff going on. And then that traditional feel of like, you're just bidding and you're trying to either take tricks or slough tricks, and like that's kind of your goal. So it felt like a nice mix of traditional and modern kind of wacky design, but sometimes I think they're a little bit at odds for me. Like I think I would prefer a Faehrte to Baronda because I think the card play is a little simpler, but then it gets back to that thing where like this is a little too straightforward sometimes for me. Like it doesn't stand out, whereas like this, it's like, oh, I stand out, but then it's like, maybe stand out too much. I'm kind of like being a little Goldilocks here, where it's like, this is too hot, this is too cold, and I want something just right. But they're both great. They're both great times. Whether they're too hot, too cold, they're still delicious porridge. Back to the food analogy. So that is a falscher Faehrte and Baronda. Really can't go wrong. They're just two great times. If a little rough around the edges for my taste, but definitely check them out. I think some smart designs, some fun stuff, and kind of, again, typical of Agoises, where you're making the choices at the beginning, seeing what kind of happens in the trick taking, and then a little bit of like a tactical, maybe strategic manner. And now I'm just describing trick taking now. But yeah, good times. Again, if those sound good at all, check them out, and I will see you next week when we finish Agoises. Thanks for watching.